It's up there. Okay, so we should be live. Let's see. If anybody's looking at this in the chat, can you confirm if the audio and image is okay? Let's see if I can get into my Discord and ask any of them.
Okay.
Yep, apparently it's all good.
Cool.
Sorry about that, folks. Massive technical meltdown over here. We've got there in the end. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah,
we got
good,
there,
buddy. Oh yeah, we got there finally. through multiple devices and means. Yeah, I basically have written out a few questions for you, dude. Wanted to run through. Yeah, just basically dig into your journey with trading, upsides, pitfalls, tuck into your journey really, and see how you've been getting on with everything.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to it.
So first off, what made you fall in love with trading? Was it instant? Was it gradual? Geez. It was a long time ago now.
It was kind of, yeah, it was a long time ago. I think it was a gradual thing. I think basically when you get into it, and you'll probably relate to this as well, you think that it's going to be really easy and that you're going to be making loads of money within like a short space of time, like 6 months, 12 months or whatever. Mm-hmm. And for me, it just kind of, every time I learned something, I for way too long, probably the first 6-7 years of my trading career, I focused way too much on technicals, and I absolutely just delved into the charts and thought that if I just cracked that code, if I just realized that there was one particular level that was going to bounce price and I could refine a strategy around just that one level, then I'll be a profitable trader, and that's the only thing I need to worry about. Obviously that's not true, but every time I'd learn something, I would then realize there was something else to learn on top of that, and it just always felt like I hadn't arrived at a destination. And someone put a post up on X earlier, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Smiling Llama, and said that in life, you know, you get to an end goal and then you get bored because you aren't challenging yourself, you kind of feel a little bit hollow. And I think one of the things with trading, for me anyway, is that you never really arrive at that end destination. You can hit goals with money, but with trading, there's always something new to learn. And I think, you know, it's like chasing the girls, you know, they always keep you interested when they like kind of string you along and making it difficult for you. And trading is kind of like that. That's how I kind of look at it anyway. And even like the past 6 months have been really challenging 6 months with family issues, and kind of the spottiest amount of trading that I've done in my career. I've never had this amount of time off. And, you know, I've been going through a losing streak in May, and it just sends you back to the basics. It sends you, it's like a challenge. It's constantly trying to give you something to learn about yourself, where when you think you've made something, it will always push you back, and you have to kind of go back to the drawing board. And that's kind of fascinating for me. And yeah, that's kind of what keeps me involved in it every single week, to be honest.
Sure. Conditions have been...
Do you hit feeling of that?
Huh? Yeah. The conditions have been very, very fucking challenging over the last, well, this year, to be honest. I've been saying in my public streams and in my Discord a lot that, give yourself a pat on the back if you've been struggling this year, because it's been straight up confusing, at least on the crypto side of things, with BTC, leading the charge and altcoins just completely decoupling. There's no like clear directional bias in the markets, so trying to align wholeheartedly with one side and try and align with the trend as much as possible has been super challenging. So not surprised to hear you say that, to be honest. I feel like I've got pretty lucky this year myself. Had a good patch the last month or the month before, 3 weeks of a good few swings that came through for me. But apart from that, it has been very, very difficult. And I do feel like I got lucky within a very small window of upside on altcoins during that time. But generally speaking, yeah, been super challenging for me, and it again is a constant reminder that you're never too good, and you'll constantly get humbled, even if it's just by new conditions.
Yeah, totally agree. What are you mainly trading in crypto?
Just crypto. Been starting to test TradFi, but yeah, it's crypto's been my bread and butter for the last 8 years. And yeah, only just starting to sort of branch out, and I'm only test trading as well. So I'm scanning throughout the day. I'm being very patient and stringent with my setups, but anything that I take is just purely test trading, and I've said I'm going to do that until the end of 2025, which is again a good note for anybody, regardless of your skill level. That's how you should be approaching the markets. Whenever you're trying a new system, an indicator, or testing new markets, you should be doing so without capital, in my opinion anyway. And only really start putting cash on the line once your statistics, journals, and trade trackers tell you should do so.
Yeah, I mean, I spent the first 18 months of my trading back in 2015 just all on demo. For a couple of reasons, though, because if you wanted to deposit money on a broker, you had to, I think the minimum was like 25 grand in 2015, and then it dropped down to like 10 grand. And now you can just put 10 quid in, right?
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I was on demo for a long time, and I definitely agree with that. I think if you're refining things, because people will always say, yeah, you can't have the emotions, and you won't have all the flare-ups that comes from live trading. But the thing is, I think a lot of the emotions in trading come from fear of the unknown. Like if you get into a position and it pushes up, people get fearful that it's going to erase all of their profits on that trade, and they'll exit a little bit too early, or they'll round trip something thinking something's going to go a lot higher. And I think with knowing your system first before you put money on the line I totally agree. That's a good way to do things.
Yeah, 100%. So I've got an interesting one for you here. If you could send yourself a voice note and your month 1 of your trading journey, what would it say?
Buy Bitcoin. Because that was January 2015.
Buy Bitcoin and wait for E.
Yeah, don't do this anymore. Just literally buy Bitcoin and don't even bother looking at charts. Exactly. No, I think the one thing that I probably would tell myself is that it's more dependent, your success is more dependent on your lifestyle and your relationship with yourself, rather than, looking at where the best supply zone is, where the best demand zone is, and like what the best entry technique is. I think it's a large part of where I've suffered is, particularly when I've done well and had a load of cash come in, and then I've just kind of taken that for granted, like, okay, I'm going to 10x this. And then that doesn't happen, and then you kind of start giving the money back, and then it ends up like just being horrible. But that's part of the journey as well, right? Everyone kind of has to go through that. But I think I wasted way too much time on the technicals, and even though that served me now, like I have a really good system and I know exactly what I'm doing, and I kind of think based on too many years of technical analysis, I've got a very good understanding of how the market moves, where it moves, and why it moves. But yeah, I would definitely save a lot of time by focusing more on the mentality. What would yours be?
So you think you spend too much time on TA?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely,
Really?
100%. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Like I said before, I was just looking for the most, my idea of what trading was that the market's always going to bounce from certain levels, and you can get the hints from the market with just technical analysis, which is why I'm purely a price action trader. I used to think you could just get that. Like, as long as you keep refining the level, you're always going to find something that's going to bounce 100% of the time. And I was just on the hunt for that constantly. And again, it has served me well. Like, as I sit here today, I think that I can read charts to an incredibly high level, but that doesn't pay the bills. That doesn't, like, your ability to read the chart doesn't affect whether you're going to be able to hold a trade through drawdown. It doesn't affect that you're able to run your winner. It doesn't affect that you're going to be able to jump in too early, or your revenge trade, and all the psychological issues. But from like a purely system approach, where you need to refine your edge, your strategy, whatever you want to call it, I think that served me really well. But yeah, I think, again, like, this is why trading takes so long. I think that people do the wrong things for too long before they realize, like, this is what I probably should have focused on. But you only get there through the passion for it, and then in my opinion anyway, like, having all the wrong things and realizing, oh shit, if I just flip doing that, then I'm going to start being right. If you're conscious enough to look at that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Okay, cool. Appreciate that answer. Makes a lot of sense. And it also aligns with, for me,
yeah, you had to go back and give yourself a voice note. What would you say?
It depends how long I'm allowed.
If your podcast, you do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'd probably spend 24 hours on that voice note. But if it was a short one, in terms of just like a short snippet or aphorism, I think it would be discipline, patience, and stringency are the most important things. If I had to choose 3 words, those would be my 3 words. Then more generic advice, such as get off the fucking lower time frames and keep your stops wide. I wasted so many years messing around on the lower time frames, which obviously I believe you're operating on the lower time frames, right?
Yeah. Now I am. I wasn't before.
So
it's been an arduous task.
Yeah, so everyone's suited differently. Some people approach the market as scalpers, intraday. I tried to do that for many years, and it just didn't suit me and my personality style and the way that my mind's sort of programmed. And I sort of realized, ultimately, think about what you want to get out of this journey, what you want to get out of this pursuit. And for me, it was freedom. Right, so I want to be that swing trader that can turn up at the desk, click a button, and then come back 3 weeks later and click another button and close off that position. And within that time, let the market do the work for me, basically. Sleep and make money, basically, is the goal for me. So I realized that I needed to get away from the lower time frames and start moving into slightly more high time frames, which again goes back to the notion of patience, right? Because if you're testing a system on the hourly or 4 hour or 12 hour as opposed to the 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, etc., then you're going to have to wait a lot longer to get that feedback loop in terms of the data that you're producing, right? So I think that was a hard pill to swallow, but again, I always use the words monk mode, and I feel like that's been cliched too much, but it really is that sort of thing. No, seriously, man, like, patience, discipline, stringency, all of that sort of stuff. There's a lot of similarities with trading and all sorts of other disciplines around the world. It's a mental game, as you say,
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, the monk mode thing has been kind of done to death. But when I first stumbled upon it, I think it kind of got within a few circles, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I something came across my YouTube channel, like recommended. It was the Mulligan Brothers channel. I'm not sure if you know it, and it's got like a Shaolin monk. And people probably know who I'm talking about. I can't remember his name, but he talked about, or there was a video about having a daily code to live by, and no matter what kind of environment you find yourself in, whatever venture you're applying yourself to, or whatever lifestyle you're leading, having a set of moral codes for the way you want to live your life, but also the way you live your life. This was just as I was starting to jump onto the lower time frames and realize it was a completely different ball game to swing trading. And to help me with that, I basically developed a sort of routine. I call it like a daily code to live by, where I make sure I'm exercising some sort of muscle in my brain. So I'm always doing meditation every day. I'm going for a walk every day. I'm journaling every day. Going for a workout, I'm challenging myself somehow, because I realize when I'm doing all of that, and again, it is cliche to talk about the monk mode, but it builds that discipline. And when you put your focus on yourself and you kind of eliminate what everyone else around you is saying, like I wasn't on any social media. It's kind of what we talked about last night. Like, you don't have any friends in the trading circle, and I had like a couple that I was still in touch with. And then too long into like going down to the lower time frames, I realized that speaking to those people was really bad, because firstly, it was bad that I was looking for validation from them, but secondly, they don't know what the fuck you're looking at. Like, everyone sees trading completely different. Like, we look at the same chart, but we're all reading it in different ways, and we all have different reasons for jumping in. And having that kind of routine where I just focus purely on myself and my mindset, and everything I was getting out of the day was purely just for like an improvement, that like propelled everything. And again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying with the technical side of things, where I was just studying the charts constantly, and I was looking for that holy grail of technical analysis, which meant that just focus on this one level that appears every time. None of that mattered. It was, you know, when you watch those profits disappear in a retrace, can you deal with that? Or are you gonna can you stay disciplined to your system and outcome independent? And those kind of things, the things that I built kind of made me focus on being process orientated. Because, you know, if you go to the gym, or if you're trying to lose body fat, or if you're trying to learn a language, or if you're trying to do anything which is going to require a lot of work, you don't expect that goal immediately. So if you go to the gym and you want to, you know, go from 80 kilograms to 85 kilograms, and you go do a chest press today, you're not going to be looking in the mirror or jumping on the scales later and going, fucking hell, I haven't added any muscle today. Like, what the hell? But when you're on the charts, like, and you take a losing trade, you're like, oh fuck, I haven't gone forwards today. But I think having a routine, and like you said, the discipline isn't just turning up and doing those things every day. It's also disciplining your mind to be consistent, because there's so many fluctuations with life, so many fluctuations with trading. So yeah, I think that to go full circle, that monk mode, like, when I picked that out what you said, because you do have to go through it. And again, it kind of what we were talking about last night when we were testing the tech out, which failed us today.
Yeah, that went
a lot of people can talk about it. You know, you've got a blueprint for success, like me telling you people now, and you talking to people now and saying this is what you have to do. You kind of have to put all of your energy on trading if it means that much to you. People can talk about that, but going through the lived experiences of it is completely different. And it's something that I think once you've done it, you do go through it. And I'm sure you probably felt a little bit lonely as well. But when you come out the other side of it, you wouldn't really swap that feeling for anything else. And I think that's such a unique thing. And people come into trading looking for those shortcuts to get to that place, but there isn't. But it's easy to sell the idea that, oh yeah, all you have to do is focus on this one level or this type of technical analysis, and then you'll be rich. So yeah, I think all of what you said, yeah, I totally agree with. And
Yeah,
sorry, I rambled then.
No, that's all good. Love it. I mean, for me, I think the biggest test was, I think the clicking moment when I realized how fundamental psychology was to the whole endeavor was, um, I kept getting underwater on positions, not stopped out, but being in the underwater sort of realm, and would just close positions based off cortisol decay, basically, where, you know, after day one, I was feeling stressed, day two, even more stressed, day three, now low on sleep, and cortisol levels are at an all-time high. You know, trying to pour milk into my cereal bowl and then missing the bowl completely, so my mind's not even fucking in the room, you know? And then I'm like, you know, I just want to be out of this state. I want to just cut this. I want to close the position. I want to move on. Our minds have got a great way of trying to take ourselves out of stressful conditions, you know, which was super useful back in hunter-gatherer times when you got a fucking saber-toothed tiger that's preying on you. But these days it's like, it's something that you need to learn to work with. And having that sort of compos mentis approach to the markets is something that I will always be a continual student of, I think.
Yeah, I hate, like, what you said. It's like, I hate saying it to add to this, but doing things like cold plunge and like the culture around fucking cold plunges these days is so annoying, like the people that do it and everything. But what you just said, like that feeling when you're in a trade and it's in drawdown and it's been maybe several hours, particularly if you're a swing trader, and you kind of see these patterns that are like, I'm going to get fucked, and like it's just slowly dribbling to my stop loss. That's the most painful thing. Like, I've entered trades where I've like literally I've entered it, and bearing in mind obviously I trade on M1, but like the next candle within like 30 seconds has stopped me out. That hurts, but nothing hurts more than like watching something slowly dribble to your stop loss. And particularly as well if you've been in a profitable situation with that trade. But and again, like if you jump in a cold plunge,
put the fucking shotgun to my head and put me out of my misery, man.
Just end it all. Just end it. And it's true though, because when you cut it right, you feel like, thank fuck, everything's fine. Like this stress just like alleviates from your shoulders. But again, like doing a cold plunge, jumping in a sauna, I do a plank as well. Like I fucking hate doing planks, but I feel so good after it. But it does build that muscle in your brain that says, hey, if I can do those things, I can get through this trade, or it doesn't really matter that much. There'll be another trade because I'm going to jump in the cold plunge again tomorrow. I'm going to do a plank tomorrow again, or I'm going to do a HIIT workout tomorrow anyway. So like, it's just part of the process. But yeah, I hate talking about it now because it's just such a meme, isn't it? Like cold plunges and everything. But I used to do them quite regularly until about 2 years ago. And I got really upset. Like when things kind of go a bit too mainstream, I'm like, I don't want to do it now because I just sound like a cunt if I'm doing it. But my mate came and visited me last weekend. We went to like this place with a sauna and a cold plunge. It was the first time I'd done it in about 2 years. And I come out of it going, I probably need to cold plunge a little bit more because that was really hard, but it felt so good after it. But there were like people at this place. It was like there was like a nice sauna, and like they had the cold plunges outside, and you do it for like an hour. And it was like a mixed group of people that you share it with for an hour. And just the people that I'm in the sauna with, they're like those people that you see on Instagram and like the hippy dippy type people, and like, yeah, I lived in Bali and I was doing that in Bali, or those kind of people. Like, I hate the culture around it, but yeah, but it genuinely like does do something good for you. Just don't be a twat if you do it.
Yeah, 100%, fully agree. So this one's a bit of a deep question. Feel free to skip it if you like, but lowest moment in your journey, if you're happy to divulge.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of the past 10 years has been quite low, to be honest, with trading. Even I was feeling quite low even just last month with like family stresses, and I could not buy a win like for the first time in probably like 3-4 years since I first started jumping on the lower time frames. There was genuinely a point about a month ago where I was like, I don't know if I can fucking do this anymore. And I've been doing it for 10 years, and I've got journals full of like profitable trades. I've got equity curves from the past like 3-4 years which are profitable, and I was just looking at going, that was probably all luck. Like I don't think I can sit here and do it. So that was actually a really low moment. But I realized like I wasn't doing all the mindful stuff that we've just been talking about, and then I kind of bounced off of that over the past month from being more mindful again. There have been some other notable low points for me. You know, probably the one that sticks out in my head as well was back in, I think 2020, 2021. I used to run a group with a couple of guys on crypto Twitter, Tyler and Maine. And then when we went our separate ways, I thought it'd be a really good idea to do like a copy trading service. And I'd been trading a particular way with it for about a year, and I'd done quite well with it. But I used to trade high risk, and when I had this copy trading service, we had a number of tech issues. People couldn't handle the risk that I was using. I was letting people see the open positions, which was a really, really bad idea. And it ended up like not being a success. I completely failed with it. I thought I could just I'd had like 4 years, maybe like 4 or 5 years of experience in trading at this point, and I'd had a number of profitable years. I had a successful trading group, and I thought that would translate to copy trading really easily, but it didn't. And it massively humbled me. Like it sent me to like the lowest point that I'd been in my trading up until then. And again, it was like, I don't think I can ever do this. Like if I can't manage other people's trades, I can't even manage my own, which is like the wrong way to look about it. And what I'm saying, but it probably took me a good 2 years to like psychologically recover from that. And then again, from like the low points that you have, you always have to kind of bounce back if you don't give up. And trading's always been this thing for me where I've just gone like fully in, like it's this or nothing basically. And thankfully, like I've made it work. But at that point, I realized like actually I'm not as good as I thought I was, and I need to do some serious work. And I need to change who I was, and that's kind of like what has kickstarted me to where I am today. So even though it was a really low point, like I've learned so much from that, and I stand here today like a better person for it, a better trader for it. So even though there were low points, like I'm thankful for that. Also, like when I've had big losses in the market as well, we're pretty low, like to the point where I thought, okay, I had all this money and I've now lost like X% of it, like a majority percent of it. And I thought, I don't know how I'm ever going to recover that again, because it was such an effort to get that amount of money. I just don't know if I can do that. So like those kind of things that make you question yourself have been pretty low. Yeah. So yeah.
After like a savage losing streak, like you say, you sort of amass a certain amount of profit, and then you give back a majority, percentage holding of that. What's your go-to? What's your recourse? Where do you go from there? Do you take a break? Do you hone in?
Sometimes I've realized that I don't realize it until like I've done too many of them. Like I've had days where I've gone like 4 or 5 losses in a row, and like I've literally been sitting there in my brains going, okay, I'm stopping, like no more trades. This is like, I'm fucking done. Like I can't take any more. And something is possessing my arm. It's like, oh, but this looks good. And it just like keeps clicking. And when it got to that point, I've been like, oh, fuck, what am I doing? I need to get rid of this. Like I might have one day like that where I've gone like, I trade with 1% risk, or like on my personal account, and then on my live funded account I trade 0.5% risk. But when I've got like 4 losses in a row, I kind of know like, oh, this is not great. And I think I've had times where it's like, okay, this is probably just a blip, and I'll come back the next day, and then I might do it again, or I might not trade the next day. And then the day after that, I'll do another like spiral of death, or I'll take 4 or 5 losses. And then that's when I go, oh, okay, something's going wrong here that I need to look at. And going back to that daily code I mentioned, like it's usually I won't be doing at least 50-60% of what's on my list. And there's like 9 or 10 things on my list. And it builds momentum. If I'm doing that every single day, it builds momentum in my head and I'm in a really good state of mind. And those days where I do 4 or 5 losses don't happen. But even, like I said, my most recent losing period last month, I kind of recognized that I need to take a break, and there was too much stuff going on in my life at that time. I had loads of family visiting, friends visiting, going out, and like other commitments and stuff. And I was trying to force things because I had 3 months off at the beginning of the year, and I just wanted to get back, like get on track to my goals for the year.
Sure.
And I made a video on my YouTube channel because it was all like pertinent at the time. I was like going through a losing period. This is what I normally do. And I made it. And I basically listed out all the things that I would do, or what I usually do in a losing period. And then I hit publish and I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably do all of this. I should probably like go for a break. And then like start focusing on like what makes me tick in a positive way.
And
I think
I don't know if it's just you, I don't know if it's just me, sorry, but as an educator, it's so much easier to give advice than follow it, you know, sometimes. You know,
100%.
Spit out all these statements of knowledge and truth, and then you catch yourself the next day doing the exact fucking opposite.
That's it. Yeah. You feel like such a fraud as well, don't you? Because it's like you know the answers and you're telling people the answers, and then you're not living it. Like even if it's just like a temporary thing. But personally, I feel like a bit of a fraud when that happens. But I've been around long enough to know that when you're doing these things, it is just a period of time. And you know that when I look back at my equity curve year on year, I will see that, and you're probably the same. I think a lot of profitable traders have this, where the majority of your profits for the year are made in like a certain period of time. Sometimes that may be 3 months, sometimes it may be 6 months. Sometimes it may be 11 months. You may just like have a fucking killer year. But in times like this, I have to remind myself that it is a period. And like what you were saying at the beginning when we jumped on here, like it's been a very challenging year so far. And the markets, they have been like really difficult, like genuinely. And sometimes sometimes it's difficult to change your mind to when things are going a little bit easy and you're just like shit hot and everything you're touching is turned to gold. And then the markets change, and it can take a little bit of time to adjust to that. And the best traders will adjust very quickly. But for us mere mortals, like sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But yeah, I think is always with like taking time off. I wouldn't say, I don't know about you, but you know, like when you go on holiday, for example, and you go like for a 2-week holiday and you're going to sit by a pool for 2 weeks. And the first few days, you're just like, this is amazing. I should have done this sooner. I've needed this. And you feel all this stress like ooze out of you. And then after like a week, you're looking like, oh, I've got another week of this. I haven't got fucking anything to do. And I want to get back to it. Like I've had all these thoughts processed in my head about what I should be doing and what I want to do, and you're just sitting there for the rest of the holiday going like, oh, okay, I want to get back. But I think when with time off from trading, like I wouldn't say to someone, or what I'd normally say to someone is, if you want to take a week off, that's fine, but you may not be actually ready to start trading the next week. I think you kind of have that feeling when you go on holiday, like I want to get back to it. I think you should just take a like unspecified amount of time off, and then when you've got that internal calling, it's kind of going, right, okay, jump back into it now. I think that's kind of like a real key thing.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. Okay, so next question is slightly akin to one of the earlier ones, but just being a bit more direct with it. Where would you focus your efforts as a beginner?
I still think, despite what I said about technical analysis, I still think learning to read, I mean, obviously it depends like what type of trader you want to be. Let's start there. Like if you want to be someone that relies on tools and indicators, or do you want to just read price action? Do you want to follow people's signals? Like how do you just want to put a moving average on? What's your time frame? your time horizon for each trade? Do you want to be a swing trader? Do you want to hold? Do you just want to set some stuff at the beginning of the year and then just ride it out for the year? Do you want to like manage things every single day? You know, it depends on your lifestyle as well. If you've got a job, if you've got a family, if you know, with absolutely no skill and you're coming into it fresh, you'd probably be better off looking at the medium time frames and the higher time frames. But then you've got the issue of you're not going to get as many reps in, which is where backtesting comes in. For me, I would always advocate for price action trading because that's what I do and that's what I love. And my genuine belief is that there is so much noise, particularly these days. Like the amount of tools that we have available for like just your everyday retail trader jumping on TradingView, like all the moving averages, all of the like what do you call Fibonacci, or like any of these tools, even the ones that people create that you can overlay that give you signals and stuff like that. If you went back like 20 years, even just 10 years actually, if you like went back 10 years and said like this is what everyone's going to have available to them, professional institutional traders would have had a nosebleed because it is insane. And I think the problem with that is that and then you'll have so many people on social media advocating for certain things. Like I'm sitting here now advocating for price action, but you might have someone sitting there saying like moving averages are the best thing, or you know, like I can't even think of many tools because I just literally don't use them.
Yeah, exactly.
But
RSI,
I think
stochastics, whatever it is.
yeah, all of that. Yeah, that's
everything.
it.
But you know, yeah, that's all good. But you know, if because like getting pragmatic and tangible about it, there is information overload by virtue of those, you know, quote unquote benefits. How would you go about sifting through all of that? You know, because for me, it was a case of literally learning everything. Like I learned everything. I was in blinders mode. I wasn't on social media very much. Every single course I found, every single book, you know, if I got wind of any sort of trading indicator, strategy, system, stance, whatever it was, I was learning it. I was like, you know, this may be the edge, so I need to just. There was no stone left unturned for me, and I think it did. You know, I feel sort of double-edged about it, to be honest, because in one respect, I can walk into any room and talk about trading in any regard because I've done it all, you know, or at least tried it all. But well, with minor exceptions, I still want to dig into the depth of market, and there are still a few things on my tick list that I haven't checked off. But you know, with that in mind, I wasn't spending nearly enough time on psychology and all that sort of stuff, as you say as well. So yeah, to save people time, if that's even a thing, how would you recommend sifting through all the noise?
I am just purely price action, and I think I kind of lucked out that my introduction to trading or like learning to trade was through one of my friends who'd been doing it for like 6 months before, and he sifted out a lot of bullshit and had said just focus on the price action.
In 6 months,
you will learn everything.
He must be fast.
To be fair, like this is kind of where the obsession with learning technical analysis came from, because even I just used to like to an autistic level, like totally dial into it. But I will advocate for price action even after like I tried a few things here and there, particularly when I jumped on social media, and that's one of the pitfalls. You can have a really profitable system, and you'll speak to someone and they'll be like, oh, you should try this, or you should maybe try that. And it ends up being a bit of a waste of time, I've found. But I would say read price action and learn about supply and demand trading. I think that is essentially that's the fundamentals of what's driving the market, and what you're seeing on the chart is, you know, where the buyers are, where the sellers are, where the buyers and sellers meet, and where they can't like decide on what the actual true price should be. You get a breakout and then you can kind of follow the trend. Like understanding supply and demand for me was like the kind of epiphany that I needed, and I just ran with that. And people like have asked me in the past why I don't, like I'll talk about the volume, for example, on the chart, And people be like, well, you haven't got a volume indicator on. How can you tell how much volume's in the market? I'm just like, well, you can see it in the candles. You can see it in the order flow as well, like in the way that the chart is moving and developing candle by candle. You can see all of that. And if you understand price action, you will literally understand every single indicator. Like I don't understand anything. Like I don't use RSI, like you said. I don't use like any of the stochastics. I don't use any of the moving averages. But if you asked me, or if you explained to me how you use it, I completely understand that. But I don't think if you if you got into trading and you started using like one tool or one indicator, you could necessarily understand what someone would be talking about with price action. Like one of the big topics on CT is all about order flow trading and market profile and all of that. And I've dabbled into that about 5 years ago, because again, someone said, oh, you should look at this, you should look at that. And I kind of understood it immediately because I knew about price action. And when people talk about order books and all of that stuff, like I'm just a visual person. Like I learn best from visual presentations.
Yeah.
Some people are better looking at the data. And I think, it was about 5 years ago I read it, was Flash Crash. And I think one of the edge that the guy had in that book was that he was able to read anomalies in the order book, and he was just purely numbers and data. But with price action, I'm looking at the exact same thing. So my advice would be always price action, pure price action. It takes a long time, but anything that you're going to do in trading is going to take a long time. But I think the thing that takes the longest time is, like, you could find something that works, but then you start gaining more knowledge and you're like, well, there's got to be like even more things that can work like this, or I can take this to a next level. And then you end up wasting time when you've already got something that works. And I don't think it actually takes that much time to find something that works. Like I've put really basic price action patterns on my channel, which is just like a bull flag, and they appear all the time. But no, like the success rate with trading is so low, but some things are really, really simple. And again, it just kind of shows it's a mindset thing. But I could just be like, here, like in these particular circumstances and this particular like trading conditions, this is all you need to focus on, just this bull flag. When it breaks out, boom, like stop below that, enter a market, whatever. If you just purely focus on that, you could be profitable, but people don't want to do that. They want to add like a million other things. They see like other traders online talking about the other stuff that they're doing. And they want to add that all in because you kind of think that you should be doing more, and that if you're not going to be profitable. But yeah, my genuine advice for anyone is pure price action. Just learn the basics of it, and just dedicate and realize that it's going to take a long time, like 3-4 years. But you'll build a quick understanding by just focusing on something that moves maybe 1 or 2 charts rather than like 20, one time frame. Check out my videos on my channel. But yeah, like don't just keep it super basic. And I think the thing is with traders, if you're drawn to trading, maybe not so much these days because of like you got a whole TikTok generation in it, but I think typically people who are into trading have a higher IQ than average, and therefore, and a lot of us are broken mentally as well. And I think therefore we seek validation, and we want to sound smart in an industry which like has a ton of like stupid buzzwords, that sell side liquidity and fair value gap and all this kind of stuff that make you sound like you're like really smart and talking about something intellectual. But charts going up, I'll buy it. Like that's what it needs to be.
100%. I mean, I always say, hand on my heart, I'm thick as stuff. That's not, my intellect hasn't got me to where I'm at with trading. It's my relentlessness, it's my tenacity. I've always been super headstrong. I've always just, I love when people say I can't fucking do something, because I'm like, all right, cool, let's speak in a few years, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Picture on the wall and some darts and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Throwing knives instead of darts. Yeah, man, I appreciate all of that. Okay, so next question's an interesting one. It's an age-old debate. strategy versus discretion? Are you fully strategic? Is there an element of discretionary trading in your system? Do you think that there can ever be any strategy without any element of discretion within the trading system?
That's a lot of questions.
It's one general question. Just answer the first.
Yeah. There's different answers. I might forget the question, so I'll have to ask you, because I thought of something for each one as you said them. Strategy versus discretion. I think you have to earn your discretion, and it takes a lot longer to earn that discretion than you realize. And I've said it a lot of times in my channel that you need 1,000 reps. I would say with like 1,000 live trades before you can like have any certain, or like even like layer one of mastery with what you're doing. And that's kind of at the point, I believe, where you may start feeling like you have a bit more discretion. Like one of the things with posting trades and plans and stuff online on social media is that so many things change. Like price could just like go up and then kind of go sideways, and it's in an uptrend, and you put on social media, oh, this looks like it's going to go up, like let's look for a long continuation. But what it might do is it'll go up and then go sideways and then push up and then drop. And it's obviously it's the developing price action or the developing story of what's happening, which will dictate that discretion. But you may look at something and kind of go, it looks a little bit weak. And I've seen like 1,000 instances in my head before where this has happened, and I've had been caught my pants down because I'm like, oh, this is really simple, just long it. Like I've got something, I don't know if you can see that, I've got a little blackboard down there which I need to put up, just kind of like as a reminder of what to do. But I've got on there like a trap, and where price looks like it's going to break down and you're in a downtrend and it's like really, really clean, but something in your brain kind of goes, like the strategy will tell you it's made like 3 lower lows, it's made 2 lower highs, and it's in a big downtrend, and it's retraced like 50% of that downtrend, and now it's showing in reversal signs.
100%.
And your strategy and system goes, you got to hit that. But something in your brain goes, oh no, it's like 11 a.m. in the middle of like the dead zone, which is between the London session and New York session. It's probably going to keep retracing to the previous session low and all of that. So I think with a system, but the only way you build that discretion is by going like, this fits the plan that I've made and I have to take it. And then you kind of go, oh, why didn't this work actually? And you go, okay, well, I'll put this in the folder. And then the exact same scenario might happen like 2 weeks later, and you take the same trade because your system says so, and the same thing fucks up, and you kind of go, oh, that happened 2 weeks ago, I'll put it in this folder again. And then it's only when you've got like 100 of those things where you kind of go, something's like going on here in this folder, I should probably check it out. But you need those 100 examples to tell you like that's why you need to add a little bit of discretion now into your system. But when you're building that system, I think, and it's the same like if you're back testing a system, like you'll know within like 20 trades if your system's going to be profitable, or if you should maybe change something or move on to something else. But with that system, you'll kind of build that inkling as things go on. You'll be like, okay, this happens a lot. I'm going to take the trade anyway because the system says so, but I think it's probably not going to work out. And then it doesn't work out, and that's when something this side kind of goes, yeah, okay, right, okay, we can put that in the folder for like my discretion is building versus like, why is this system not working, even though it has all of the metrics that say that this should continue south and I'm short, but it's not. So it takes a fucking long time, and that's the thing with the passion for trading, and that's where the intellect kind of comes in, I think, to be able to, you become kind of like a bit of a project manager, and you have all these moving parts and you don't really know where to place them until you've got like hundreds of each one. And that's why people give up, and that's why people move on to different things and different shiny objects within the trading world, or they look at someone online and they go, well, his stuff's working, so I'm going to follow him. And then when his stuff's working, you kind of go, oh, his doesn't work anymore. And I kind of believe that, I think, you know, when people say your edge will always run out and you'll have to find something else, I kind of actually don't believe that, particularly if you're a price action trader, because you're always going to be able to read the price action. But it's just going to be like little tweaks to it, and maybe you just kind of take your foot off the gas in certain conditions and push it in other conditions. So yeah, that's kind of the answer to the first part of that question. There was another part of that question I don't remember.
I don't even remember the question to myself. Yeah, that's a good answer, man. That's a good answer.
Yeah. What do you think?
What do I think?
Do you think you're more a discretionary trader or a systematic trader?
I'm a schizophrenic trader.
I like that.
Yeah, I'll be very systematic one year, and then the next year be like, no, I think actually more discretionary, and then I'll be like, no, fuck it, back to the system, and then the next year it's a separate thing. I've actually got my system up here on one of my screens. I'll put it over if you like. I can show it to you in a bit of detail.
Cool.
And then that will sort of maybe segue on to the next question as well. So let me just pull off.
Cool.
See if I can change our positioning a bit. So apologies to any of my viewers that have seen this before. It's probably getting very boring to you all. But yeah, basically had a lot of questions on how to develop systems from the ground up. So this is what I put together. I did my trading system in a sort of spider diagram mind map format. Basically, first off, what conditions are we operating in, right? Are we hyperdirectional, aka breakout trading, or is it the regular pivot system, which I operate 80% of the time? And then basically it goes through a series of these sort of what I call gates, right? So you can either get through the gate or you can't get through the gate based on the answer you give the questions. For instance, if is the trade based on a sweep, supply, demand, or deviation? To pick one out of the bunch. Is the general crypto market trend heavily in your favor? Do you truly have the wind at your back? Or over here, do you have extreme speed prior to the divergence forming, etc., etc.? So they're basically like if this, then that sort of format questions, which ultimately bring me to a risk table at the end of each system, which ChatGPT helped me kindly put together. But yeah, basically work out my sort of dynamic risk weighting. Now, if you're looking at these figures going, what the fuck is allocating 12% to a trade? It's because I keep very, very little on the exchanges, so don't take that, take that with a pinch of salt sort of thing. But once I've put together this, and it can be in TradingView like I've done it here, or it can be, the best way to do this is just pencil and paper, I think. Just get real with it, and yeah, make sure you've got a rubber to hand because you'll be erasing a lot of stuff as you go. But once you've done this, then I've put together something called gatekeeping, which is basically like my pre-trade sort of checklist. And essentially what it is, it's sort of like a flashcard system, which puts this spider diagram of the bare bones of my system into a super quick to grab sort of flashcard system, which tells me whether I should be in the trade or not from a systematic perspective. Okay, so yeah, this mind map here is basically this, right? So it's a different way of representing it, but this is the same mind map, but in that sort of flashcard representation. So before I take any trade, I just click this play button and go through the motions, right? Am I operating on the regular system? Like I said, this was the first thing I picked up on in the mind map. And I can just keep going through and through and through to get to the end, basically. These are all of my requirements to be in a certain position. And I basically have to answer yes to everything, being completely hand on my heart, completely honest about the trade. So it's one of these things where, when you were saying earlier, your arm just does something and you want to be in a position sort of thing, this is the same sort of thing where you have to really be honest with yourself. And again, it comes down to that sort of discipline element of things, because you've got the sort of dopamine part of your mind that wants that buzz. Do you know what I mean? It wants to be in the position. It wants to say yes to everything, but you have to be completely honest with yourself. Otherwise, your post-journal reflection, you'll be like, fucking hell. I basically flew through this and I didn't have reasonable delta confidence, Yeah,
the chart's pumping. You're just like, just fucking get through it. I need to click yes so I can trade. Exactly. That happens all too often. So you've got to, honor this whole system with a lot of respect. But if I say no, then going back to the monk mode thing,
you know. But I feel like this, from a systematic perspective, has been super useful, and is a very useful sort of system for new traders to follow as well. The way that I say it to aspiring traders is, it feels like having a system is, when you're bowling and you've got those sort of guardrails up that keep you within your lane.
Oh,
It
that's
feels
cool,
like
yeah.
that. But if you're a pro, then you're going to just hit that strike and curl it into the mid pin, and you're not thinking about that sort of stuff. So I think, yeah,
It's
to answer
true.
your question, I go back and forth. But more, I feel like year on year, I develop my system further. I develop practices like this that keep me out of bad habits, keep me in check when I'm, on potential tilt, or had bad sleep, or, even having, arguments with my wife or whatever it is. If I'm emotionally out of whack, this will save me from that sort of 10% of time where I would be acting up. But generally speaking, as the years go on, I think discretion is more and more important, and especially with the sort of ever-changing conditions and how unpredictable BTC's been this year. Um, like you say, there are so many different nuances that can present themselves that even if your system says you should be in a trade, your gut's saying it's off. And I think really and truly the ultimate edge is having them both line up.
Yeah, I agree. I think based off of that, I need to get like is the wife pissing you off filter today, so I don't trade. Like, it's a lottery coming down every morning, and it's like, oh, what move is she going to be in today with the baby?
I hope she's not watching.
She doesn't give a fuck. But like, I'll get onto the charts. I'm like, oh, like whatever. I'm in this room. I'm away from her and the baby, and I'm like, I'm focused. It doesn't really matter. But there'll be something like the blood's boiled a little bit already. It's like 7:30 in the morning, and I've tried to, I'm taking trades, or I'm looking to get into trades. But even though I feel okay, the blood has like boiled a little bit because of just even one tiny little interaction. And it can be like my patience for sitting in a retrace goes out the window, and then suddenly I'm like cutting the trade early, or adding too early, or like maybe cutting it and then reversing the trade, just doing some stupid shit. So I need a little flashcard, but it's different. I mean, you're trading primarily on what sort of time frame?
Hourly is primary. I'll drift down to the 15-minute at the lowest in incredibly trending conditions, but try and stay closer to the hourly and above, to be honest. So 4 hour, 12 hour, even sometimes daily, 3 day, etc.
How long does it take you to go through with that, like those little flashcards?
I'd say a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is fine, because if I'm waiting for an hourly close as my trigger, basically what I'll do is I'll set my alert to 56, 56 past the hour, so I've got 4 minutes to execute.
Yeah.
I'll take 1 or 2 minutes to run through the flashcards, and then 1 or 2 minutes to chase into the position via a limit chaser order, because I don't market order into positions. And yeah, it works well. If I was operating your system on the M1, this wouldn't work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I've tried it. Well, not this, but I've tried something similar. And then what kind of worked for me, I've got a mentor a couple of years ago to help me build a system, or like verbalize my system, and essentially just wrote a couple of Word documents, and it was all like if-then statements. Like if this happens, then go to section 2, and then if that happens. But that was more like what you said earlier about writing all this down, what you've got there, on pen and paper, or pencil and paper. Yeah, I 100% agree with that, because if you're doing something, if you're typing something on a computer, it doesn't stick in your brain like it does if you're putting it out into the world, like, from your hand. So like I've done all of that by pen and paper, and then I put it in a Word document. But it's kind of solidified in my head now and there were like 7 or 8 different iterations of it, and I knew exactly what my edge was, and it took that many iterations to write it up. But it kind of sticks in your head and kind of cements its place in there, so that when you're doing this on M1, you kind of, again, if you're doing things enough time, you kind of run through that mental checklist, don't you? If I was trading back on H1 or M15, I would probably be doing something like that. I think that's a really good thing. Just because, like, we keep it honest.
Yeah, for sure. Why did you move away from the sort of M15 and hourly?
So I had that trading group. Well, I was working a job before and then trading, like, I wouldn't say part-time, but any spare moment I had. And then had the trading group with the two guys, which ended in 2020. And then did the copy trading thing, which probably lasted like 6 to 9 months. And then like the arse fell out of that. And I found myself in a position where I was just like full-time trading for the first time. Like, even up until that point, I'd been swing trading on H4 and H1 primarily, and I had a job, or then I had the trading group, and then when I had neither of those things and just wanted to trade full-time, I couldn't fill up enough of my time just focusing on H1 trading. Like, I would check the charts like on the close of every hour, or I would look at them like every 30 minutes to see like kind of what I could expect for the next half an hour. And it led to just trading too much, not having my head in the game. I wasn't really enjoying like sitting around the house feeling unproductive. So I started sitting on the computer. And as you know, if you're going to take like H4 trades or H2 trades or H1 trades, suddenly you start like, you've got nothing to do. You start creeping down to the lower time frames anyway, just to kind of get an idea of what's happening and how this hourly candle could close.
It's a massive trend.
So I found, 100%. So I kind of found myself like naturally going to lower time frame trading, and I kind of built a system then, probably early 2022, where it was just like, I'm just going to focus on the first part of my day is just going to be trading. I've read a book called Trader Mind by Steve Ward, and he kind of verbalized like an inclination I'd had, where I was trading London session, had like an hour break, and then I'd trade pre-New York and then New York. By the time it got to like the New York session, my mind was all out of whack and I was making bad decisions constantly. And again, like I said earlier, once you've had like hundreds of something, you have the evidence then to kind of like make the corrections. But when you're building that, you're going through all the trials and tribulations and the negative consequences of doing wrong things, or what ultimately decided to be wrong things. So I eliminated the New York session. In that book, he said that humans are really only built for 2 major emotional decisions a day before you kind of get this burnout feeling and you kind of go out of whack. And I was like, well, I'm taking like 3 trades a day, and that third trade always tends to be a loser. And then I was looking at things like, if I can't correct the first trade with a win on my second trade for the day, I'm done. And that kind of backed me up a little bit, that book. So it ended up then going down to M1. I had that daily code. I started realizing that a significant portion of my time has to be spent obviously doing stuff I enjoy, but I consider like going to the gym work. I consider meditation part of my work. I consider journaling part of my work. And yeah, it was just like, personality wise, I could no longer just sit there waiting for H1 closes. It was really detrimental to my P&L. And then like going down to M1 was also detrimental to my P&L in the short term. But
How long did it take you to adjust to the lower time frames?
Sorry?
How long did it take you to adjust? Like, it's a huge system shift there.
I mean, the kind of style of trading that I do on M1 is very, very similar to what I was doing on H1 and H4 and everything. So in terms of like the strategy and the technicals and where to trade and everything, it wasn't that difficult. There wasn't much of a learning curve in terms of when to trade, but the mindset stuff has been, it probably took, I started early 2022. I would say it was probably mid 2024 where I was like, okay, I think I have this pretty dialed in now. And then I had a baby, and it set me right back to like square one. And I'm kind of, I think over the next few months, getting to, hopefully I'll be getting back to my best, but I've realized, like, you know, life is just a constant like it's just constant change. And
Yeah.
that period of time up until I had the baby, I built out like a really ideal environment for me to trade in. Like I had pure laser focus on it. I had time to like go to the gym and like do all these things which were centered around me. And now there's like a guilt feeling because like you see the missus struggling with the baby, and it's mid-afternoon. It's like, okay, I should do something. I can't get to the gym after all, and if I can't get to the gym, it's like I don't sleep as well, and I feel shit the next day, and I can't, like, all these little things I'm learning to adjust with now. But in a purely like,
I said you're preaching to the choir, man. I've got a 5-month-old.
I see you nodding along.
Yeah. It's exactly. Like you have to get your priorities in order, you know. Like for me, the wife and the baby girl, they're everything to me. They always come first. So I'm sure it's the same with you. You know, they always take first priority, and then everything else goes on the back burner. And for me, it's as simple as 10 to 15 minutes of meditation a day. I've got it in my Todoist app. It's like highlighted. So there's one thing I'm going to do today. It has to be the fucking meditation, and it always just gets pushed. Do you know what I mean? And then it gets to like 8 p.m. or whatever, and I'm like cooking dinner for everyone, and I'm like, oh fuck, just can't be arsed. Sometimes I try and do meditation at that point, and I actually get more stressed out because I'm like meditating shit and I'm not focusing on it, and then I'm like, well, why am I doing something that's negative? Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, there's no point doing this now, so I should. Yeah, again, man, not enough hours in the day, but you've got to just reshift priorities and do that basically.
It's like the easiest thing to do as well, right? Because all you have to do is just go sit somewhere and close your eyes. It's like the easiest thing to do.
Mate, for me, it's the hardest thing to do, man. I could work out the logic of the system behind here all day long, but fucking meditation, man, it's been my Achilles heel. I've been practicing for 15 years now or something, and still.
Oh wow.
Yeah, still struggle, to be honest. Like in and out.
How do you do it?
How?
Yeah, do you have like headphones on, or like do you do it in a like quiet room? How do you do it?
Sometimes I'll do it unguided. I'm looking out the window at it at the moment. I've got a pergola on my land, which is sort of raised, so it's got an amazing view of the vista. So I normally tend to do open eye meditation there first thing in the morning. But yeah, failing that, it probably won't happen. But yeah, the thing is, man, like as you say, so yeah, we can sort of move towards wrapping up, but I've got one more question to round things off nicely that will segue off from all of that, and hopefully tie up the stream well, which is at the beginning we were talking about how we both spent too much time on price action, on indicators, on technical analysis, basically, and that more time, more effort, and more focus should be placed as beginner traders on trading psychology. That's all well and good to say, but how, like tangibly, practically, how do you work on your trading psychology as a new trader?
Yeah, it's there's so much stuff as well, right? Like, where do you even start? I think, and I said this in one of my videos, that trading psychology and psychology is like all the same thing. You don't just come to the charts and put on your trading hat and then suddenly you're a different person. Like the person you come into the office with and sit down at the computer with is like the person you're taking into the charts. So it all kind of depends on like how you're living your life and the habits that you're already doing. I think, you know, Todoist is a really, I have that app as well. That's what I track everything on for my code, basically. But I think like when I approached it all with having that code or this like routine, which are essentially my habits every day, I designed it in a way where I was improving some small part of me in a small way, which if I just did it consistently, like the person you're going to be in 3 months is completely different. And like the stuff that's on my Todoist, so there's read for 30 minutes a day. That used to be an hour, but like I have a baby now, it's fucking impossible. So read for 30 minutes. And you know, sometimes I won't have read a book and it'll be like 9 o'clock at night. And when I'm at my strictest and most disciplined, I'll be like, fuck it, I'm doing it, I have to do it. I will forego Netflix. I will like, the missus may be upstairs doing something. She likes video games. So like this is a nice little way for me to have some time to myself. And she's been with the
Mate,
baby
this
all
is
day.
like
She
video
can't.
games. You're not downstairs reading. Jesus Christ, man. The other people would kill for that.
Yeah. So there's reading on it. There's a workout, and I'm like, it's not like go to the gym. I've got a kettlebell back there, which is like sometimes a HIIT workout. It could even just be like an ab workout. Just do something to get the body moving. Go for a walk. I think that's really important because I put 5,000 steps. I used to have 10,000 steps, but again, that would end up being like an hour and a half, and sometimes I can spare like 45 minutes. But that just clears a lot of junk, particularly after the trading session. Clears all the junk out of your head. Journal. So I journal literally every day, and that's like one of the things I'm really consistent with. And I do that at the end of the day every day.
Is that
because
like that personally, right? That's not trading journaling. You're talking about just what's going on in your day to day, right?
Yeah, and trading is part of that. I mean, I'll journal my trades on Edgewonk and like have all that, but in the journal, it will just be about talking about my day. So I don't take anything from yesterday into today. For example, I had a bit of a shit day yesterday. I had a memorial service. Yeah, and like there was a long drive to it, and I had to spend time with like some family, which I didn't really want to spend time with. And like I come back and I say I have to like sit there in my journal, and I have to get this all out because then I'm going to take it into tomorrow. There's going to be something that's graining on me. Also the meditation, I do 15 minutes of meditation. I haven't got a beautiful view like you. I live on a fucking housing estate. So like I see like Teresa down the road, like walking her dogs and like screaming at her children and stuff. So it's not quite as meditative. So I'll put some like, I literally, I've got big old like soundproofing headphones that I'll put on, just put some binaural beats on. I'll do a stretch at the end of the day before bed because again, you're building this like tension in your body, like sitting there like fucking on the charts, like bastard, like why are you doing this? So like those are the things that I do every single day, and they all have a reason. Like reading is just like expanding your mind, meditation is like calming your mind, same with the walk, journaling is just getting all the gunk out. Having a workout is challenging, but it's obviously it's good physically. And then like particularly the HIIT workouts. So I think if someone wants to improve their trading psychology, they're going to have to improve their psychology first. And the way to improve your psychology is to do stuff that you're not already doing. Like when you start a new project, I always say you should have another self-improvement project alongside trading, because trading results won't come for an extremely long time. And it will make you feel like shit when they're not coming. In the same way that if you're trying to lose weight, like you won't see a difference week on week, and you'll get kind of depressed. You probably feel like giving up and like, fuck it, I might as well eat that cheesecake anyway. But if you're learning like the piano, or you're learning a language,
100%,
or something like that, or even just like long distance running, you can run a little bit further each week. Like if you're doing that alongside trading, it's going to give you more heart to like stick with trading and stick through the downtimes. And but it all comes really from your habits and being a different person to bring to the charts.
I think every like OG trader that I speak to, that's just a massive commonality. There's always other things going on. It's always a very holistic approach. Mind, body, everything. It all works together in concert, and I completely resonate with that, man. Like over the years, I've had a food business multiple food businesses on the go. I've had a bunch of hobbies. I love art. I love cooking. Learning languages as well. It's been part of my sort of journey, and it's just really great to have, because when trading does go to shit, which it does, then you can just focus on those other things, and they'll sort of tide you over until it sort of rebalances. I think that's super, super important, no matter what it is, whether it's another business venture or a hobby. Aside from exercise and mental health, well-being, all that sort of stuff, which should be obligatory in my opinion, really. Having other ventures is some serious alpha.
I think I can't remember what country it was, somewhere in Europe. You can get free bus rides if you do like 20 squats like in front of the bus, and they'll give you your ticket. It should be like a part of everyone's daily life. And if you're not, like the lowest hanging fruit to start improving your psychology, in my opinion, is just to do some like body weight exercises.
Yeah,
But
100%.
the thing like the plank, a plank is also part of my routine because I hate doing it, and I do it for 3 minutes, and every fibre of your being after a minute's like, oh, fuck this, I don't want to be doing this. But if you can get through that, if you do that every single day, like I did that every single day for something stupid like 9 months, and then I stopped doing it because the baby and like obviously life gets in the way, and changes your mentality a bit, and you got to get back into that. But it's the easiest thing you can do. It's free, you can do it anywhere. But if you just like, you'll see through planking, in my opinion, that everything is just a mindset thing. Because if you aim for a minute and you get to a minute and you just like collapse to the floor, you might have still quite a lot of energy in the tank. But if your brain isn't going, fuck it, I'm going to push through, see if I can do 1 minute 10. Oh, actually, let's see if I can do 1 minute 20. Wait, let's see if I can get to 2 minutes. I've got this far into the minute now. Like that's the easiest thing in my opinion, and the quickest thing you can do to start improving your mindset, because it will build that kind of link to your higher consciousness.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Like it's the one thing I think out of my entire list where if I'm doing that every single day, something like I'm in a better mood. I feel like I can do anything. And again, just to go back to what we were saying before, fucking cold plunges is the same, because you want to get out of that cold plunge and you don't want to be in it. Yeah,
for sure.
It's so cliche, but
it is. Yeah, for sure. But it works. You know, I've been lifting for 12 years, calisthenics as well, and you do realize that failure is mental failure. Do you know what I mean? Like over the years, it's not physical failure. Like if you had a gun to your head and you had to do a few more reps, you'd bang out a few more fucking reps. Do you know what I mean? So it's really training of the mind more than, well, it's training of the mind before it's training of the muscles, really, you know.
100%.
And yeah, 100% agree with everything you've said. But listen, dude, been lovely having you on the channel. Really great to have a chinwag and sort of knock heads on everything.
Any questions from anyone in the chat?
What's that?
Is there any questions or anything from anyone in the chat? I can't see it.
I've got it up here. We'll see if any trickles.
Or if anyone wants to ask anything that we haven't covered.
There was one earlier from Prince Youssef. Can you explain the difference between strategy and system, and simply what is a system?
I think it's just different names for the same thing, really. People kind of call what they do their edge, their system, their strategy. I think if you've got a strategy, you've got a whole bunch of reasons for taking a trade and reasons for not taking a trade, but it's all kind of built in, like what you've got like in the flow diagram. You could call that a strategy. It's like you have to go through all these things, and then if all of these things allow you to pass those gates, like you said, then you can execute your strategy. But it's just a system, isn't it? You're going through like if-then statements, you're going through the flow diagram, whatever. I think it's all just the same thing, to be honest. Just different names.
Yeah. All right. Nice. Well, it seems like that's the only question we've got at hand at the moment. But yeah, lovely to touch base, dude. Hope you have a lovely weekend, and yeah, hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great. Good fun. Thanks for having me on.
Man. Yeah. Have a nice weekend and chat soon.